कृष्ण प्राप्ति हो जा होते गुरुमुख पद्मावाक्य चितित कोरिया क्या गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्य चितित कोरिया क्या আর না করে হো মানে আশা আর না করে হো মানে আশা শ্রী গুরু চরণ রতি ऐसे उत्तम गति जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते गाय जहर चरित गाय जहर चरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवाना आहा प्रभु कोरो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया पतित पावना श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना आहा प्रभु कोरो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया आहा प्रभु कोरो दया देह मोरे पद छाया वेदास कुसु त्रिभुवाना जय प्रभु पदा प्रभु पदा प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्त वृंद चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्त वृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जाय। श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जाय। श्री मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जाय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जाय। इस्कॉन शिकागो न्यू सेवकुंज धाम की जाय। Their most merciful lordship श्री श्री किशोर किशोरी की जाय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जाय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जाय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जाय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जाय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जाय। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जाय। महाप्रसादम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जाय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Our spiritual masters are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to those lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attachment to His lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From Him ecstatic prema emanates. By Him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and Lord and master of the devotees. Master, please be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds, and we take shelter of your lotus feet. His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead. Thank you. ये तो नहीं है ना, okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Ram Rama Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Harinam Sankirtan Yajna Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishriki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 7th Canto, Chapter 2, Text 22. 1 second. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Nitya Atma Vyayaha Shuddhaha Sarvagaha Sarvavit Paraha Dhatte Asau Atmano Lingam Mayaya Vishtrijan Gunan Nitya Atma Vyayaha Shuddhaha Sarvagaha Sarvavit Paraha Dhatte Asau Atmano Lingam Mayaya Vishtrijan Gunan Nitya Atma Avyayaha Shuddhaha Sarvagaha Sarvavit Paraha Dhatte Asav Atmano Lingam Mayaya Vishtrijan Gunan Nitya Atma Vyavaha Suddhaha Sarvagaha Sarvasvit Paraha Dhatte Asav Atmano Lingam Mayaya Vishrijan Gunan. Devotees. Nitya Atma Vyayah Shuddha Sarvagaha Sarvavid Paraha Mayaya Vishtijan Nitya Atma Vyayah Shuddha Sarvaga Sarvavid Paraha Mayaya Vishtijan Gunan. Mataji. Sarvaga Sarvavid Paraha Dhatte Asav Atmano Lingam Mayaya Vishtijan Gunan. Nityaha, eternal. Atma, spirit soul. Avyayaha, inexhaustible. Shuddhaha, with no material tinge. Sarvagaha, qualified to go anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds. Sarvavit, full of knowledge. Paraha, transcendental to material conditions. Dhatte, accepts. Asau, that Atma or living being. Atmanaha, of the self. Lingam, a body. Mayaya, by the material energy. Vishrijan, creating. Gunan, various material qualities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The spirit soul, the living entity, has no death, for he is eternal and inexhaustible. Being free from material contamination, he can go anywhere in the material or spiritual world from the material body. But because of being misled by misuse of his slight independence, he is obliged to accept subtle and gross bodies created by the material energy and thus be subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. Therefore, no one should lament for the passing of the spirit soul from the body. Purport. Hiranyakashipu very intelligently described the position of the soul. The soul is never the body, but is always completely different from the body. Being eternal and inexhaustible, the soul has no death. But when the same pure soul desires to enjoy the material world independently, he is placed under the conditions of material nature and must therefore accept a certain type of body and suffer the pains and pleasures thereof. This is also described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Karanam gunasangasya shadasat yuni janmashu. The living entity is born in different families or species of life because of being infected by the modes of material nature. When conditioned by material nature, the living entity must accept a certain type of body, which is offered by nature under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayam sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 61st. The body is just like a machine, and according to the living entity's karma, he is offered a particular type of machine to move here and there under the control of material nature. This continues until he surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 14. Until he surrenders, the conditioned soul is carried from life to life by the arrangement of material nature. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining the Srimad Bhagavatam discussions in the morning. The 7th canto, chapter 2, text 22. So here, what's happening? Let us see. Being enraged with Hiranyaksha's death, he blames Lord Vishnu for killing Hiranyaksha. And so he wants to take revenge. And we read many verses how he gave instruction to his ministers how to uproot Brahminical culture, how to destroy anything that is religious, anything connected to Vishnu. So we heard all that section. And then now Hiranyakashipu is wearing another hat. He's acting as a counselor, grief counselor. So he's trying to pacify his mother, Aditi, and his sister-in-law, Rushabhanu, and his nephews, the children of Hiranyaksha. So he's just beginning to speak. Shri Hiranyakashipu Uvacha. So this is one of the verses that he's speaking, and this section continues. And then in fact in the future, he even he tells a story of a king. So he's trying to pacify, counsel his relatives, and in so doing, he's giving examples of other stories from scripture. So as we can see, Hiranyakashipu, he is very well learned, he knows Vedic knowledge. And whatever he's saying here, we cannot find fault with him. The spirit soul, the living entity, has no death, for it is eternal and inexhaustible. Okay, Bhagavad Gita, basics, 2nd chapter. Being free from material contamination, he can go anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds. Sarva Gaha is the word that is translated. He is fully aware and completely different from the material body. But because of being misled by misuse of his slight independence, he is obliged to accept subtle and gross bodies created by the material energy, and thus be subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. Therefore, no one should lament for the passing of the spirit soul from the body. It's almost like what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Natva evaham jatunasham natvam neme janadipaha in the beginning. And then he's telling Krishna, Arjuna, nana sochanti panditaha, that one who is wise, he neither laments for the living or dead. So Hiranyakashipu is speaking about the soul. But as you will read the section carefully, you will notice that his exposition is incomplete. Yes, he does mention that we are not the body and we are the spirit soul. And then he does a fantastic job in describing everything, describing the soul, the body, the laws of karma, Prakriti, modes of material nature, free will, and so on and so forth. But just he leaves out one aspect, very conveniently, and that's the problem. He doesn't speak much about Ishvara at all, and the relationship between the Jiva and the Ishvara, which is the problem. So, even in many of the discussions that happen, people that are really interested in ascertaining who am I, I've heard from devotees that when surveys have been done, it's shocking, not so shocking, but almost 70 to 80% of the people in the world, even in the Western world, they believe in the soul. Of course, everybody has their own idea what that might be, but they all believe that there is a soul. And some of them even believe that there's a soul different than the body. But then, as Srila Prabhupada explains, self-realization is incomplete. Self-realization is given different definitions of self-realization in different parts of his books. But one thing Srila Prabhupada says is, self-realization is knowing who am I and who is God and what is my relationship with Him. Also he talks about knowing who am I and what is this material nature, who is Ishvara, and knowing my relationship, with all of these. And then he includes time also, he includes karma as well. So in one sense, self-realization, one can say, the basis of self-realization is Sambandha Gyan from the Vedic scriptures. Sambandha Gyan. So knowing exactly what is what, comprehensively. Yeah. And like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a beautiful shloka which is often quoted. He says, neither am I a brahmachari, a grihastha, a vanaprastha, a sannyasi, nor am I, a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, or shudra. I'm only one. My identity is Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anadas. So that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that I am an eternal servant of the servant of the servant of the servants of the gopis. So that's my identity. So all this talk about self-realization remains incomplete without the mention of God. And Hiranyakashipu, in fact, in this section, just in the prior section, is sharing that he's an avowed enemy of the Supreme Lord. He wants to destroy him. But the essence of self-realization, Prabhupada also explains, is self-realization and God realization, they happen simultaneously. It's not separate. Yeah. So, and self-realization is incomplete, again, to reiterate. I'm not the body, I'm the spirit soul, but I'm part and parcel of Krishna, and my eternal relationship is to serve Krishna. Jivera Swarupa Hoya, Krishnir Nityadas. So that's what is required. And then what happens then is, if we only have the conception of the soul, and then most people, if you ask them, even devotees, when we ask, what is their conception of the soul? It's a very hazy, idea. To what to speak of others, some, glowing, thing, light, which then what happens to that light? There are many things that people say. One is, like the Buddhist philosophy is, this sort of, it goes into oblivion, So the root of all problems is these desires that I have, and so if I somehow, become free from desires, then I'm free. But then what happens after that life? Or some others have the conception that I will become one with the Supreme Lord. I'll merge into the Supreme Lord and I'll become one. So even people that have a spiritual conception, some idea about the soul, So here, so as devotees, it behooves us to have a very clear idea as to what, okay, it's the soul, but then what is the relationship of the soul and the Supreme Lord? And then we act in that relationship. So it impacts our life. So it doesn't just remain, as Srila Prabhupada says, it's just not an armchair philosophy that you have, this amazing discussion and your mind and your intelligence is tingled, and then you say, okay, that's great, what's for lunch? Like that. So, Sambandha Gyan, as Prabhupada also mentions, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyante Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So, the Sambandha Gyan has to, translate into the realms of action. And that action is actually bhakti. So we want to act in our relationship with the Supreme Lord, through the medium of devotional service. So then, what happens is, as we hear from scripture, this human form of life, which is very, very rarely attained, it becomes basically a springboard from which one, acts in the relationship with the Lord, and then one regains one's spiritual body. So here, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is discussing actually about the material body, how it is created. He quotes a Bhagavad Gita verse, he compares it to a machine. And then he quotes another beautiful verse, right? Sadasad Yoni Janmashu. Yeah. Where Krishna is mentioning in Bhagavad Gita that because of the long-standing association with the modes of material nature, the living entity, it is sojourning through this, in this material world, taking birth in different life forms. And then as Prabhupada is writing in the purport, each life form, they have their limitations. They have their limitations. For example, let's say if I want to fly, if I want to go somewhere, I have to, pack my bags and, make sure, my, weight limitations. I'm within the weight limitations of the airlines, then I need to get there, and then before I even get there, I need to go to security check. You need to stand like this and do all that gymnastics, and then get into a plane. And then, the plane may be late, fly from one place to another. But the bird, it doesn't have to do anything. The bird is just, freely flying across continents even. It doesn't have a GPS, no nothing. It just flies. That. Similarly, the aquatics, the animals, the fishes, they are freely, swimming in the ocean. But if I have to swim, firstly I have to learn to swim, and then I have to make sure that the waves are not too high, and so on and so forth. I have to consider so many things. And even when I go into the ocean or lake, I want to make sure that there are no deadly, animals in the water which will devour me. That. And then if I want to go scuba diving, for example, it's funny I'm speaking all this, I don't even know how to swim. But anyway, let's say if I want to go scuba diving, I need to hold this gas tank or tank, which will help me to breathe. And then I need to have a cord, in case, somebody needs to pull me out. So there are so many limitations, but the fishes, they are freely, flowing, no problem. They don't care whether it's a tsunami or, whatever. They are like swimming easily. But then so this, yesterday, I think Himanshu might have spoken on this, Prabhupada calls this incarceration. He says because of a desire to enjoy independently from Krishna, then Krishna creates this amazing material world, and then he creates a suitable body. The first thing that comes is the false ego. False ego, which tells us that I am the Lord of everything I survey. And the false ego, it enables our forgetfulness of Krishna. And then we get, an intelligence, material intelligence, a material mind, a material body. That's what we get. So that's a complete package. And then this material world, where it's like a prison house where not only I, but there are others also who are in the prison house who have come with that same idea. So we have association as well, nice association. So I have forgotten the Supreme Lord, and then there are others who have also forgotten the Supreme Lord, and then we're all trying to enjoy, forgetting the Supreme Lord. But of course, then there is an issue. What happens is, my enjoyment interferes with somebody else's enjoyment, and then we fight about it. So anyway, we come into this material world, by turning away from Krishna, and then this material world, is Durga Desh. It is the jurisdiction is of Durga Devi. She is the superintendent of the prison. So Prabhupada calls this incarceration. So we are incarcerated in different bodies. So there is a prison house, and then so Prabhupada here is speaking about how there is a gross prison and there is a subtle prison. There is a body and there is a subtle body. And what we find often is that actually the subtle shackles are even more stringent than the gross shackles. For example, having heard from Srila Prabhupada so much and from scriptures that I'm not the body, I think at some level we're okay that, I'm not Indian or, American, or I'm not, this or that or the other. So those grosser identifications are easier to give up. But the subtler identification, that's the one that have gotten us here, that are keeping us here. Because there is still some hope, as Prabhupada is writing here, there is still some hope that we'll find some material enjoyment in this material world. So we are saying, well, actually, I'm working on it. I just don't have the perfect circumstances right now. If only I had, more money, or, if I had, blue eyes instead of black, or if I had more hair, or if I was taller, or if I was shorter, or if I was a man, or if I was a woman, and so on and so forth. So it's like our own small, God project in a way, where we are thinking that we don't have the perfect circumstance, and we can find one, and stay here. But then, Sri Hiranyakashipu is mentioning, and the scriptures are mentioning, that it's a futile exercise. It's a futile exercise. There is no perfect thing like that. But then, the desires are there, as Krishna is mentioning in Bhagavad Gita. Those desires are there. The lust. What are the places where the lust resides? There is the mind, the intelligence, the senses, and the knowledge acquiring senses, the gross, the working senses, like that. So this lust is captured, all of these, strategic places. And so the mind has some conception that this is good for me, this is not good for me. There is one beautiful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, chapter 4, text 176. Let's see if we can find that. Antya Leela, chapter 4. Yeah, it's a beautiful. I don't remember the exact translation. The Bengali verse, I guess. Yeah. All right. Dvaite bhadra abhadra jnana saba manodharma. Ei bhala, ei manda, ei saba brahma. In the material world, conceptions of good and bad are all mental speculations. Therefore, saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport, one is absorbed in the illusory energy of Krishna and cannot understand Krishna, one cannot ascertain what is good for him and what is bad. Conceptions of good and bad are all imaginations or mental speculations. When one forgets that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, which we were talking about, Jivera Swarupohoya, Krishnera Nityadas, he wants to enjoy the material world through different plans. At that time, he distinguishes between material plans that are good and those that are bad. Actually, however, they are all false. A short purport, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there is this idea in the subtle plane, the mental conception, that this will be good for me and this will be bad for me. But again, the basis of that is sense gratification. So we are looking at everything, we are looking at the world and everything around us with that ideas. And so we are making the distinction. On the other hand, if we were to just bring about this shift, that I am an eternal servant of Krishna, then those same circumstances, then what happens is, so our energy is not spent in trying to change those circumstances, because devotional service is not circumstantial. I can serve in any circumstance. Ahetuki apratihata, yatma suprasidati. And most of our life is spent in, I want to just get the circumstance, right, and then I will serve Krishna. This is not right or that is not right. This is wrong with this circumstance, that's wrong with that circumstance. So we are waiting for an ideal circumstance to serve Krishna, which never happens. But as Prabhupada is saying, but that whole conception of an ideal circumstance is on the mental platform. And what is the nature of the mind? It is fickle. So today that same circumstance that is ideal and perfect, it becomes imperfect like 2 days later. Okay, what happened? So anything is, the foundation is impermanent, and so it wavers. Today it's this, tomorrow it's that. But here Srila Prabhupada is saying, but on the other hand, if I have this, deep in my consciousness that I'm a servant of Krishna, and let me see in this same circumstance, how can I serve Krishna? Then we go beyond this realm of duality, good and bad, Of course, that's, it has to be cultivated, it has to be practiced. And then what happens is, in life teaches us lessons. Krishna exposes our attachments, and we have no choice but to surrender, as Prabhupada writes at the end. Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. Somebody was sharing, I hope I can get this right. So suffering is resistance to what is. So there is some circumstance in our life, and then we are resisting that circumstance, and then we are suffering because of that. This is one devotee was sharing with us. And many things, here Prabhupada is explaining, but many things that otherwise we cannot understand. We have to look at it from the perspectives of karma, time, prakriti. I'm sure Radharaman Prabhu spoke about this. I was not there this past Sunday, but he spoke about why do bad things happen to good people. So if we only see, somebody's life in this particular instance, then a lot of things don't make sense. But Srila Prabhupada is explaining the purport. Today is the future I created yesterday. And that's a simple way to explain karma. So wherever I am now, there are things that I've sowed in my past which are fructifying, or which might fructify in the future. So there are different machines. There are Krishna is talking about yantra rudhani mayaya. Amongst all these machines, so then specifically, this human form of life is most, perfectly made for self-realization. Prabhupada explains this. We have evolved consciousness, we have evolved intelligence, you know, and so it's conducive for self-realization. So use this machine, this rare human form of life, and then use it for self-realization. So I'll pause there and see if there is any discussion, if anybody wants to say anything. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we covered 7 to 22. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. Listening.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful class.
Hare Prabhu.
So you were mentioning the point that, well, Radha Raman's class on Sunday, why do bad things happen to good people? And also you made the point that we can't wait for the perfect circumstance in the material world because, you know, there really is no perfect circumstance ultimately because everything ultimately ends in suffering. So this reminds me of something, maybe you could elaborate on it. Reminds me of something Radha Maharaj said in his parliament speech. He says, wisdom is the ability to transform curses into blessings or challenges into opportunities. Then one other person I heard, they made the point that what appears to be a setback is merely a setup of what Almighty God created us to be. So we could see many examples in the scriptures where, you know, people transform their suffering to ultimately kind of teach people to the highest character, like motivational speakers. We see that when army people lose their limbs, you know, they may be going through all types of suffering, but then they'll use that, transform that to actually help people to speak about, you know, how to create good character, how to treat people. So maybe you could speak about that. I don't really have a question. I just kind of appreciated those points. So maybe you could elaborate on that.
Hey, that's a beautiful topic. I mean, scriptures also mention again and again how, you know, trauma and transcendence, they're juxtaposed next to each other. And there are many, many examples of this in scripture itself and even in real life. So I was in New Vrindavan last weekend, and then one devotee was sharing. So he's, you know, very well established in his service right now, and so on and so forth. And so some devotees made a comment that, oh, you know, Prabhu, it seems that, you know, you knew from the get-go, you know, what your sort of dharma is, you know, meaning how is it that you will serve Krishna? And he said, and as a matter of fact, no, I didn't. You're seeing in a way the end product, you know, like 50 years later, but that's not where I began. And he was giving a beautiful example where, I mean, he was very, very young when his parents moved, like, you know, he's from Germany, and then all of a sudden, you know, the parents moved to America. So very young, 5 years old boy. And he was like put in school. He had to go to school. And then, you know, he was not able to understand English, you know. And so for many months, he was saying it was very traumatic for me actually. And he could not communicate. And the teacher even, you know, said, well, I think we need to put your son in a special education class. He doesn't respond to anything. I don't even know whether he's understanding anything. You know, like, so he was saying, so here I am, you know, I was from a small village in Germany, and all of a sudden in the middle of New York City, you know, and in this new circumstance. So he was saying, so this desire in him to communicate, to express, you know, and so on and so forth, as you were saying, he transformed it. And then now, I mean, he's an amazing, you know, storyteller. He's a storyteller. He tells stories. He writes books. He writes books for children. Anyway, so as you're saying, so that, and he was himself sharing, so I'm sharing with you. So he said, so how that, you know, that challenging circumstance, he used that challenging circumstance to, you know, to grow. Yeah, actually we need challenges. We need challenges, and of course we also need, you know, the right people in our life. If we have those two, that's fantastic. If you don't have challenges, and if we have the right people, typically what will happen is we'll just become complacent and just sense gratification. But Krishna is very, very amazing. He never lets us become complacent. So just when we thought, okay, I'm on my victory lap, and then the next challenge is already there. He doesn't even let you bask in the glory of that victory. Okay, so the next one is right there, like Nityananda Pran, I'm sure, like you just come back from India and like it's like, okay, what's going? He's sort of ready. I mean, like that. So Krishna, he never lets us be complacent. So this is a special mercy. So as you're saying, actually it takes some spiritual maturity to understand that the good circumstances are a mercy, but the bad circumstances are also, I mean, like again, sorry for using the word good and bad, from our own limited vision, how we see those circumstances. And in fact, what happens is for most of us, when we go through that circumstance and we're on the other side, you ask the person, would you have it in another way? He said, no, Prabhu, give me that again. So we see that how those challenging circumstances, how they have helped us grow. Without, as I said again, without some challenge, and of course we need to have resources, we need to have support. Otherwise what will happen is that challenge will again, re-traumatize us. It will create another, traumatic experience. And Krishna is very merciful. He will never give us more than we can handle. And even if he gives us some circumstance, he'll make sure, he'll give us, support. Of course, it's our prerogative to reach out and take that. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate, one of the things I appreciate, in a way, in the Western civilization, for example. Again, this is not, I'm saying this with utmost respect and love. In the Western civilization, what we see is typically, the family system, is mostly, crumbled, so to speak. Single parents and so on and so forth. So it creates a very, challenging circumstance. But then, that challenging circumstance, in a way, it also creates a certain detachment, from these ideas that, I can, I'll have a wonderful relationships, and I can live happily ever after. So it's a great, in a way, it's a great opportunity, as you said. And I see, when I see like young, men, it's fantastic, because yes, the circumstance, in a way, in many of your lives, many of their lives is challenging, and you're looking for answers, and then you come in contact, with the devotee, with the answers, and then you take it. So you're transforming, the same challenging circumstance into an amazing, opportunity. So I really appreciate, the devotees here, how that with the detachment, it helps them. Yeah. So that's another example. There are, one can give more and more examples, but yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question kind of relating to this false identity, like with our families. Like I'm going back to see my family this weekend.
Say that again, Prabhu.
I have a question about like the false identity, and especially dealing with like our family. Like it seems like when I go see my family, they're like want to make me feel like I'm special or like something, because it's like my birthday coming up too, so it's like gonna be like a day about me or whatever. Like but how do we have this like I'm insignificant, I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, like so insignificant, so small, but then our families like want to make us feel like we're special, and it's almost like disappointing them for us to have this mood of like being a servant. it's almost like they feel bad that we're in this mood. I'm just wondering if you could talk about that. Should we just like play along and be detached from the
Okay.
like identity, or should we like how? Because we don't want to disappoint or put them into like anxiety or make them worry, but we also don't want to be attached to our identity.
Okay, good question. Well, it might sound different, it might sound contradictory, but I agree with your parents. You are special. Each one of us, again, each one, not to be misunderstood, each one of us is special. Krishna even talks about it in Bhagavad Gita, that the soul is amazing. There are verses. So, many people have this misconception that, humility means, thinking, sort of less of oneself. But that's not humility. Humility means thinking of oneself less, meaning Krishna is at the center. I'm not the center. So this is falsely understood many times, that, I'm, nobody. No, you're not, we are not nobody. In a way, each one of us have some unique gifts that only we have. Krishna, the whole purpose of our creation, Krishna has unlimited capacity to love. Raso Vaisaha. He is the essence of Krishna is rasa. And so he expands himself into unlimited jivas, so he can have an exchange with them, each one of them. So from that perspective, each one of us is special. The relationship we have with Krishna, in a way nobody else has that. I'm not talking about high or low, but nobody else has that relationship that I have with Krishna. So on that note, yes, we're all special. And then you're talking about your parents, So Srila Prabhupada writes in 1.842 that in Queen Kunti, when she's asking to sever her material knots of affection, Prabhupada in the purport, he writes that all these, they are symptoms of life, affection and so on and so forth. We cannot annihilate them. You follow? So your parents, whatever feelings they have for you, they are symptoms of life. And for a minute, if you say, well, if you leave aside the fact that your parents, you may have a conception that your parents are not devotees and so on and so forth, just let that go. But the fact of the matter is, the parents you have, they have been chosen by Krishna. Would you disagree with that? No, you can't. They have been chosen by Krishna. And it all ties together. And in a way, the fact that you were born in that specific family is not just an accident. Krishna wanted you in that family. Of course, you can say, well, I created my own family. Yes, you can say all that. Your past activities created a certain family. But then we cannot just go boom. It's not like Krishna taking birth. I want to take birth in Devaki and Vasudeva. No, it doesn't happen like that. Krishna chooses the parents. So those two parents are the perfect ones for us. So depending on whatever karmic baggage and whatever I need to experience in my life, whether it's the trauma, for example, just to not to get all the details, but the traumas that I need to experience, and the happiness or whatever that I need to experience. So there's a perfect match in that family system that I've taken birth in. So they are the perfect ones. So when you look at your parents from that perspective, they are the servants of Krishna. Krishna chose them. And now, Krishna's love, broadly, it comes in two ways. It comes through, of course, our acharyas, disciplic succession, the Vaishnavas. Krishna sends his love through the Vaishnavas and the scripture and so on and so forth. But then, Krishna sends his love through the parents as well. The affection can say. Yeah, we can say, well, it's perverted and all that. Okay, all that's different. That's aside. But it is Krishna's system. So when you, let's say your parents want to celebrate your birthday, or they are inviting you, okay? So if you remain as in the mood of a servant of Krishna, let's say, right? So now you are practicing Krishna consciousness. So although they are bigger than you, your parents are bigger than you. So in a way, we are out of order by thinking that I can give something to my parents. But if you let that go for a minute, by serving you in some way, they will get some sukriti. They'll get some benefit. That. So it's not like, oh, I'm special, celebrate my birthday. But wow, so these, in a way, because if they knew something else, they would do it, right? So that's their way of expressing their affection for you. So now we have scriptures and all that. We can say, well, but then Krishna says, actually, one who doesn't, liberate the child from the repeated cycle of birth and death, he should not be a parent. Okay, just let all that go for a minute, and then you receive that. So it's, when you see Krishna, he's showing his affection through your parents unto you, and then you receive it. And then you will learn how to reciprocate with that. And Srila Prabhupada himself was a great example. Many times when devotees' parents would come, he would say to the parents, from the fruit I can tell the quality of the tree. Wow. And of course the parents would give credit to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, it's you are the gardener. You have actually unearthed these qualities. Either way, parents play an important role in giving us this rare human form of life. Without them, we are not here. I mean, we are not even here. Yeah, we can philosophize. Yeah, but somebody else. But even then, it's somebody else. We are not even here. We are not even listening to the class. So for that, in that service, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. And in a way, it behooves us, because here we are claiming to be Vaishnavas, and so seeing all living entities as equal, on one flat. So seeing the soul, not whether somebody is a devotee or a non-devotee. So we are being invited to come to, Madhyamadhikari position at least, or even, beyond. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there is. Yeah, and Dhruva Maharaj also. Dhruva Maharaj, when the Vimana comes, he asks, can my mother also come? So the mother who tells him, the Vartama Pradarshaka Guru actually. So Narada is his Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru one can say. But the Vartama Pradarshaka Guru, she said, well, when Dhruva Maharaj he felt hurt by his father, she said, Lord Vishnu can fulfill your desire. And I said, oh, Lord Vishnu, where can I find Lord Vishnu? And she said, well, I've heard from the sages that, one goes to the forest typically to find Lord Vishnu. And they said, okay. Dhruva Maharaj, then he leaves. So his mother, when he's going back, so he asks for a plane for his mother. She also comes like that. But again, so we can serve our parents. The fact is, they are big, we are small. Life comes from life. So we get this life from them. So we can serve them. Like even in the old age, sometimes our parents will require us to take care of their needs. Even even changing their diapers and whatnot. But still, the fact is, they are big, we are small. So it again comes back to what is the consciousness with which I'm doing something for my parents. If I'm thinking I'm better than them and so on and so forth, then we're in trouble. But somehow or the other, I will receive this mercy of Krishna, and I want to share. And then that's different. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So we'll end here then. Thank you all very much. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.